Okay, right. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a really strange diet that has worked tremendously well for me. And it's about 1 month into this diet that I know, like 1 month, you cannot base everything on 1 month. But trust me, you're going to see what I'm talking about. I know when you see these type of videos, you think, oh yeah, diet, whatever, it isn't important. But trust me, this diet can honestly change your life. If you really stop scrolling and you pay attention to what I have to say, you can 10 times your output. Now, if you don't know who I am, by the way, my name is Žarko and I coach entrepreneurs on performance, energy, productivity so they can make more money in their business. It's pretty simple. I'm going to help you perform better, which is also, again, like weightlifting, sleeping, everything like that. Going to help you perform those things better, which will give you more energy, and as a result, you're just going to build more muscle, have more energy, make more money, and live a better life, essentially. And so, before I reveal to you what this diet is, you have to realize one thing. Your diet is essentially like, let me just bring my pen. Your diet is essentially like an input, okay? Now, the reason why this is such an important thing is because if you want to change something, you don't start from the outcome. A lot of people like just want to, oh, well, I'm not losing fat. I'm going to change the outcome, which doesn't make sense, right? What you have to change is the input, or what you essentially put inside of your system, inside of your body, okay? So I probably know like this system thinking, which pretty much goes like, okay, input, process, output, and then at the end of this you have a feedback, and feedback goes back to the input. Your diet is input, and it's really important because if you have garbage in, you will have garbage out, no matter what you do. Trust me, no matter what you do. So before I again reveal to you what this diet is, I know I'm just going all over the place, but I want to really nail the point, is that you can't fuck this up. Okay, you can't fuck this up. If you make here a mistake, everything else will not work. And what happened in my life, for most of my life essentially, is that my inputs were all fucked. And that is why my work was suffering. That is why I built less muscle. That is why my performance was less, my energy was lower. Everything was just not working essentially. Okay. The diet that I actually went on is the diet called carnivore diet. Now, before you think, wait, what about fiber, vitamin C, cholesterol, all these things, let me first tell you what this diet essentially is. So carnivorous diet is you eating meat, okay? Meat, essentially animal products without honey. That's it. Or animal products or animal itself. So you can eat meat, eggs, organs. Cheese is also fine, or dairy, but just not milk because milk has carbs. Essentially, it's a ketogenic diet that you pretty much eliminate everything from. Like it's one of the most, if not the most restrictive diet. And one of those that is even more restrictive is like Lion diet, where you eat just red meat. Okay, that's like when you just eat a red meat, which I actually think I'm going to maybe transition to. I'll see. Anyway, now you might be wondering, wait, but just eating this? What about getting bored of this? What about vitamins, everything else? Well, the problem is that the first base ground of what you know and what people know is literally destroyed. And when I say that, I mean that a lot of people don't understand how we as humans evolved. We as humans didn't evolve eating plants. Or maybe, just maybe some plants, but it's like small amount. And plus the plants we have today are not even the same that we used to have back in the day. So when you look at what humans have ate for millions of years ago, and I actually made a whole video you can, by the way, watch, which is going to go into much more detail. I don't have time on this video to go in this kind of details. When you look at what humans have ate for most of their lives, and through the evolution, it was meat. It was meat, organs, and eggs. Pretty much just that. And some milk, last maybe 15,000 years ago, and that's it. That is why, by the way, a lot of people are just lactose intolerant. When you look at even our whole systems, our organs, how they function, they run better on fat. Fat makes ketones, and our body is just running so much better on ketones than glucose. Okay? Plus, when you look at our body, or if you think about evolution, sometimes the hunt will not be successful, which means you will have to not eat anything. And if you eat glucose, you probably know this, you feel quite hungry all the time. And you feel like you're starving even though you ate 2 meals today. Well, that is the problem with glucose. And ketones, they don't have that kind of problem, and you're in a ketosis if you're on carnivore diet. So if you look at how we lived, essentially, we have always been more on the carnivorous side. Always. There was some time when we ate fruit, fine, we can argue about that, maybe just some time, but still we didn't eat the fruit we eat today, which is why I don't eat fruit. But if you look at our evolution, we have most likely, and I mean with 100% certainty I can say we have been carnivorous. Because you can just see it at our bones, you can see it at our nitrogen levels, you can see it at our height, you can see our teeth, our even genes, man. You can see everything. What we ate, how we lived, how we looked like, how much muscle we used to have when we ate meat. And so when you look at everything like that, you can see just how important meat in our diet is. Now, when I refer to meat, I specifically mean red meat. We did eat like turkey and chicken sometimes, yes, but it was just much less available. And even if it was, we just had like bigger animals. So that was the first thing. Now, the second thing really that I want to speak about is elimination diet. Okay, so evolutionary, we are carnivorous. Evolutionary, biologically, we are carnivorous. You can just go ahead and watch videos if you really want to watch the videos on that, but I just don't want to cover that right now. Plus, I have a video on my channel that is going to cover it fully. The second thing I want to speak about is elimination diet. Now, the reason why this diet works so well, elimination diet, is because this eliminates everything. Okay, if you're somebody who, or let's say if you're somebody who doesn't know what you're sensitive to, if you eliminate everything and you just have what you need to survive and essentially thrive also, you are going to get rid of all of your problems, all of your symptoms. Like I'm telling you right now, this sounds insane. I have not ate anything for about 36 hours. I have the same energy as I had when I woke up. It's insane. It's fucking insane. And the reason for that is because I'm on the so-called elimination diet, where I just don't eat anything beside meat that can cause harm. And meat is quite frankly the only thing that can actually not cause harm, because it's the only thing that is actually anti-inflammatory. Now, I used to actually be on the so-called elimination diet where I ate about 20 ingredients, but the problem with this is that you don't know what is causing the problem, man. Like that is the biggest problem, is that you're pretty much blindly guessing. Like I think, or at least I thought like peanuts were amazing for me. I thought almonds were completely fine, or spinach was amazing. Sweet potato is also amazing. But when I really took everything away from my diet, I realized none of these things are actually helping me. Okay, which I'll speak about actually soon, essentially, why these things actually don't work. But you have to realize that even if you do elimination diet, you go to, let's say, about 20 ingredients, that even if you do this, the problem is that like you just don't know what you're doing. Like you're essentially just trying to like shoot a dart, and you don't know what is happening, right? Now, am I saying everybody should go on this diet or carnivorous diet? No, you don't have to go on this diet. Am I saying you're going to benefit from it? Most likely, and I'll speak about my benefits later. But also the big thing about carnivorous diet is that you just don't have these things called plant toxins. I want to speak about those actually. Plant toxins are essentially how plants defend themselves. So you know how I spoke about like 20 ingredients? Well, the problem is that even if you eat 20 ingredient food, you can still get a lot of plant toxins. So for example, I used to eat like a bunch of almonds, peanuts. I even ate Brazilian nuts, spinach, sweet potato. And when you look at all these foods, they do have oxalates. Like every single food that I ate, like almonds, peanuts, spinach, sweet potato, they all have oxalates or some kind of problem. Like for example, peanut has too much SABG, which is just sex binding globulin, which is just going to reduce your testosterone. If you look at almonds, they have too much cyanide, which is actually can kill you. Then over here, sweet potato, it has bunch of oxalates and it has bunch of vitamin A, but you cannot even use it. It's not bioavailable. And there's also one more thing I can actually speak about is that plants or the vitamin inside of a plant isn't even bioavailable. So even if you do eat bunch of vitamin A from plants, it's like you ate nothing pretty much, or at least 80% of that is just not going to be absorbed. And spinach oxalates. I mean, it's literally full of oxalates that can actually give you a kidney stones, which is not fun at all. Now, if you look at plants, as I talked about, plants, the way they defend themselves is through toxins. It's even known by people who study evolution, who study biology. It's known. Like, it isn't some kind of wee-woo stuff. I'm not speaking out of my ass. Trust me. I did my own research. If you look at plants, what plants have is they have things called lectins, oxalates, they have even cyanide as I talked about, or they have some kind of problem essentially. They do something to your body or they bind to something, so they cause inflammation. Like one of the most common one is like gluten that actually does bind to your gut. It binds to a protein and your gut is essentially muscle, which means it has protein. It binds to your gut, it actually causes inflammation, which is why people get leaky gut. And so if you just remove all these things, I'm talking about gluten, lectins, oxalates, essentially everything, you will feel 10 times better. Now, maybe, just maybe, you can actually eat some of these foods or go on an elimination diet with 20 ingredients and figure out what is not working for you. It's going to be better to go on this kind of diet where you just eat whole foods, of course, always, okay? I mean, step one is just remove seed oils, remove sugars, remove all of these things to actually get good focus and to just live better life. That is step zero. But as you move down the line, you realize that there's so much food that we eat these days. That is actually just causing too much harm. Okay, and even if you try elimination diet, I'm telling you right now, you might still have problems. You might still get sick. You might still have brain fog. Like, I don't have brain fog. And I haven't ate anything for 36 hours. And I don't feel burned out. Like, it's just insane. I don't know how, but it's just insane. And really the last point I want to speak about is ketosis. Now, the reason why I also went on this diet and why this diet just works so fucking well is because of ketosis. Now, if you don't know what ketosis is, essentially you use fat as a fuel, okay? If you are not in a ketosis, you use glucose as a fuel. And glucose is kind of like a lesser version of a fuel. It's like just using dumb fuel. You can use it a lot and your body burns in fast, but if you run out of it, you cannot tap to your own body fat because it isn't the same thing, right? But when you're in a ketosis, essentially, when your body runs out of a fat that it runs, it can easily tap into its own body fat because that is fat. Wow, I know, insane. And so if you're in a ketosis, you burn more fat, so you actually burn fat. You essentially have more energy because ketosis, essentially when you break down fat, you get ketones. They have much more energy. They're much more energy dense and they're much better fuel for our mitochondria, which actually gives us ATP or energy. So you have more energy. Next, focus. Okay, focus. Now the reason why, or we can say a couple of reasons why focus works better or why you have more focus is because when you're in ketosis, you're essentially in a more alert state. Okay, you have more, I cannot say adrenaline because it isn't the right, you have more epinephrine, which is just a neurotransmitter that works for focus. You have more epinephrine, you have more dopamine even, I would say, because you don't constantly spike your blood sugar levels because you just eat fat and protein, which means your blood sugar level is going to be really smooth, and there's more dopamine, there is more epinephrine, which means improved focus. Now also next, you're going to be less hungry, and when you're less hungry, it also just goes back to the feedback loop of more focus, because if you eat less, you're going to digest less, you're going to have more time for focus work. And these are just like some benefits. I could go on and on, but these are just so good. And plus also autophagy, I should also mention that, which is just pretty much you breaking down or repairing your old cells and using them better, which is just insane process. But this is what I have been doing for about 1 month. Am I saying you should do this? No. Do you want to try it? I mean, go for it. I actually think you should try it. But if you're at any point you just don't like it, by the way, just know that first 1 to 2 weeks is just pure hell because you're trying to adapt to the fat. It's not going to be fun. You're going to have like diarrheas and everything. But after that moment, about 1 month in, you're going to feel really good. And yeah, that's honestly everything I wanted to cover. Now, if you're somebody who is an entrepreneur and who wants to improve his performance, his energy, and just wants to build more muscle so they can be more confident, use all that energy and just make more money in his business, you can check down below, first link in the description. I'm not going to lie to you, it's a sales call. If you want to see if we're a good fit for each other, you can just book a call if you want, but if you don't want, I guess that's it for you. But yeah, if you're somebody who is an entrepreneur, who is busy, who is ambitious, book a call down below, and as always, bye.